My next guest, Beth Macy, is the executive producer and writer of the critically acclaimed Hulu miniseries that critics have called riveting and a must-watch. Nominated for 14 Emmy Awards, Dopesick reveals the heartbreaking stories of the opioid crisis and how Oxycontin destroyed people from all walks of life. Here's a clip.
Dr. Phoenix, did more than 1% of your patients become addicted to Oxycontin? Dr. Phoenix.
I can't believe how many of them are dead now.
Beth Macy, who also wrote the book the show is based on, says the story of addiction and loss hit so close to home. She recently revealed how she came to terms with her own father's addiction and learned to stop the shaming. Beth has also just released her new book, Raising Lazarus: Hope, Justice, and the Future of America's Overdose Crisis. Please welcome to the TAM Fam, Beth Macy. Thank you, Beth, for joining us. You talk about your father now openly, and your story reminds me so much of when I first started to talk about my sister surviving domestic violence and ultimately, though, losing her life to domestic violence. I struggled. I thought tough love was the answer. I did the can't you just leave? Now I know that was shaming. With your father, you're a child, and you're looking at your father with embarrassment and shame because of his addiction. What was it like for you as a grown woman to process what that meant for him to be shamed?
Yeah, I mean, I'm 58 years old, and you know, writing that piece for Oprah online was really the first time I recognized that the message of Raising Lazarus is to stop the shaming, that in order to treat people with addiction as human beings who are not moral failures, who are not criminals, but rather they are people with a treatable medical condition. It's really stigma that keeps us from making sure people get this evidence-based care. And I realized as I was writing that piece that I had been doing it too, as well. Like I had been, I mean, it's different when you grow up with it.
Of course, well, you're a child. And so as children, it's easy to become embarrassed. I mean, kids are embarrassed when their mom kissed them on the cheek to go into the school. Now you're a child looking at your father with an addiction and also hearing what others are saying about him.
Yes, yeah. I mean, you'll never forget those things that people say to you, like making fun of your house because your dad's a house painter, but it's the worst looking house on the block, or friends seeing him stagger home from the VFW hall drunk. And, you know, we were very poor, largely because of his addiction. And there was a lot of anger and resentment about that. But, you know, being the first person in my family to go to college, it really helped me enter the middle class. But only until I started writing about people who are marginalized, as I was, did I really start to get it.
You wrote in that piece, you said, I'll never get a chance to tell my dad what I've learned through years of working in the trenches of the opioid crisis and the perspective it's given me on his struggles. But for others, like the woman who called her son after years of estrangement, it's not too late to break the silence. And that hit so close to home. I just had a conversation with someone recently, and they thought the tough love approach for their child was to tell them, get out, get yourself together. And in fact, the person spiraled even further by that rejection.
Yeah.
What is the balance? Because you do want, come on, hit the bottom and get back up. Yeah. But that word can be destructive.
Well, in an era of uber potent fentanyl, rock bottom is too often death. And as the woman that I profile, Tessa's mother in the book Dopesick, says, she learned later after her daughter's death that the basement has, the rock bottom has a basement, and the basement has a trap door.
There is no bottom because this drug is hell.
Yes.
These drugs are hell.
And they can't get off of them without access to evidence-based treatment. And as I say in the new book, Raising Lazarus, we still have an 87% treatment gap in this nation.
What does that mean?
That means that only 13% of people with opioid use disorder in the past year have been able to access life-saving medicines. And we've stigmatized the treatment. There's this idea that if you give somebody buprenorphine or methadone, you're treating their drug addiction with another drug. What I'm trying to do is stop the shaming and make it so that that people understand it's very similar to a diabetic taking insulin.
Part of what you've been writing about, part of Dopesick, is our anger should be at these pharmaceutical companies. And, these people who knowingly made access far too available to people, these people who lived in billion-dollar lifestyles and mansions off the backs of people.
Absolutely.
And I just got goosebumps because it makes me so angry that then the poor people who become addicts or addicted become stigmatized. They are the pariahs.
Absolutely.
And those people in those mansions should be the pariahs.
Yes. Thank you. We had somebody reach out to our team after the series aired, and she said she realized she was stigmatizing her own addicted child, and for the first time in 3 years, she picked up the phone and she called him. Wow. Yeah. I mean, that's why we do this work,
That's
right?
why you do it. With your new book, part of what you are exploring in Raising Lazarus is all of these people on the front lines who are looking for innovative ways to reach people, to help them, versus judging them.
Mm-hmm. We know that if we go to them where they are, it's almost like harm reduction, this idea of meeting them where they are, whether it's in a tent, under a bridge, in a McDonald's parking lot. The book starts in a McDonald's parking lot. That becomes a gateway to building up trust, to allowing them to then enter into treatment and eventually recovery.
Part of the solution is why we want to do this show is that the shaming is not a part of meeting people where they are. It's a part of hurting them, and we want to take that out. And you've filled it with such knowledge. I applaud you. Congratulations on the nomination and the journey that you've shared. It's been so powerful. Raising Lazarus. Hope, justice, and the future of America's overdose crisis is in bookstores and online. Beth, thank you so much for your story.
Thank you so much.